ground, but Virtus.pro, they know how to play it. They pushed BDS so hard yesterday, just like they did already today on Villa. And think about this. Put yourself in BDS's shoes right now.
Okay.
They started their day and they're like, all right, we've just got to beat
I'm
some...
just one person.
They're like, okay, we got to just beat some Russian team, Team Empire. Heard of them. I heard they were once good. We got to beat them, and then we move on to the grand final, and we chill out until tomorrow. They lost the first map against Empire pretty convincingly. They had to take it all the way to map 3 and then lost. They knocked out into the lower bracket. BDS are like, all right, we got to beat the other Russian team now for a spot in the grand final, and they had to work hard for it. The French right now must be exhausted. This may be their map pick, but they're at the end of their rope. Let's see if they can lock it out here because they have the advantage. They have that map 1 in the bag.
Well, 2 hard breaches banned. I mean, it is Clubhouse after all, but that means that there are 2 remaining because Ace is, of course, in the pool. And then Wamai and Valkyrie, a bit more standard. Not that hard breach bans aren't standard. I just feel like it gets shaken up a little bit more of recent times.
Yeah, well, what happened yesterday? We had 2 hard breaches banned, but it was different hard breaches that time around. BDS still got rid of the Maverick and the Wamai for that matter, but Virtus.pro, they decided to keep the Ace in and ban Thermite instead. Not quite sure what the idea is. Maybe they just know that Shockwave is a bit of a gamer on the Ace, and they want him to have that fragging potential. That's for some other reason. I'm not quite sure.
He's just a gamer. That's just what it comes down to.
Shockwave's a massive gamer. Oh. Have you seen his Instagram? Have you seen his Instagram?
Dude, have you seen his tattoo? For those who haven't seen, Shockwave is like having an entire tattoo done on his arm that's like a cybernetic. It looks like he's got a robot arm. And it is so cool. Like, even if tattoos aren't your thing, just admiring that thing is wild, but...
I didn't actually know that.
Did you not? He always posts photos of it.
I've seen him post photos of his biceps, which are fairly large.
Well, good to know what you focus on and what I focus on.
I think it would be the other way around, but no.
Well, that would be stereotypical. But what we should be focusing on is the game. And the game is going to be pretty tight. We talk about how this is BDS's best map, and it sets up these stakes, and it's like, wow, this is scary for VP. But this was still an overtime game yesterday.
Oh, yeah, it was. It was a game that was pushed hard both directions, and Virtus.pro start on the defense then. They'll do so now as well. Instead of going to Church and Arsenal, which was their primary bomb site yesterday, they're going to start at Gym Bedroom. Both bomb sites where they actually only won. Well, they didn't win every single time they played it. In fact, Gym Bedroom might have been won the first time in a clutch. The second time they won it, it was not quite so convincing. Let's see how BDS deal with it, though. I have my confidence in BDS here. After winning map number 1, they've finally broken that pattern. I mean, I would love to see the All-Russian Grand Final, not gonna lie. But I just think BDS have really edged themselves ahead. They've finally taken Villa after all of these matches where they lose Villa and go on to win the series. They finally won Villa. But imagine, Gio, how ironic would it be if finally BDS win Villa, but go on to get reverse swept and lose the series.
The curse is broken, and now every other map is up for grabs. Yeah. Now, I mean, if I remember correctly, and by all means correct me if I'm wrong, when BDS defended this site, they kind of barricaded themselves into cash. They actually reinforced off red, whereas Virtus.pro here, they're playing with the rotation because they want the Goyo there. That is a relatively early opening pick, I guess, onto LMs. So Zafia is no longer available in this game, and that's a nice start for Virtus.pro.
And still they have this map control in cash. But Rask starts to play a bit more passive. I like that. Not trying to bite off too much. Just chew it one bit at a time. And Shockwave also roaming downstairs. Took out a drone. I'm surprised he was allowed to roam freely in Lounge. And Virtus.pro actually, very similar to what you were saying you saw BDS do yesterday. They've actually played a lot more passive. They pulled back. Completely abandoned cash. Rafal's going to see that now. He's droned it forward. BDS 4 versus 5 with lots of time left for the execute, but VP have fantastic positions. Good vertical holes from Shockwave down in kitchen. He can see anyone who jumps through that rotate hole into logistics.
Pasha's down just below Jim, so you know he's also got the hatch open, so he could throw a C4 up if there's anyone who enters into there. But it makes these avenues really difficult for BDS to take. But maybe not so much if Rask is taken out. That could open things up for BDS as Shaiko secures that kill.
30 seconds left. BDS. They have a breach on Jacuzzi. That's Brede. He has the diffuser in pocket. Rafal to support. Virtus.pro, they still have players below. Pasha can deny the jump in from Renshiro. WTG as well to work the bomb site. 13 seconds left. This is where the push has to come.
Pasha is ready and waiting. Taken straight out. Shaiko knew exactly where he was. Brede does go for the plant, but he's going to have to start again. Shockwave just runs straight through. He wants to take that position back. And with a C4 at the end, finally manages to deny. Virtus.pro very quick to fill the hole that was left by Pasha after that brutal assassination. But, damn. Felt like everything happened at the end there.
Yeah, I will commend Virtus.pro. Yeah, back to us for a few seconds, guys. We're just going to fish something and then we'll be back into the game.
Yes.
I will commend Shockwave there. He found not only the kill on the Shaiko, but also the planted on with the C4. That was eventually the win condition for VP on that round. That was how it happened. Timer ran out because Brede died on 0-0 while trying to plant that diffuser. So well played to Virtus.pro. A couple things in my mind really helped them get that is, firstly, opening pick. So credit over to Pasha, making it so that BDS are trying to fight from behind and have to take map control a bit slower. And the fact that Virtus.pro had found all their players all the way back onto the bomb site, BDS had less time, less resources, and less manpower to try and take that control away from them. Great stuff. Virtus.pro also had 2 players roaming downstairs. Now, credit to Shaiko. In the late round, Shaiko was very much aware of the potential planted from below, and he pushed that. Took down 1 player, but wasn't able to take down Shockwave. And, of course, Shockwave eventually clutched that round out. Good stuff for VP. Starting strong on their gym defense, but Church and Arsenal will be their second.
We saw what happened in the last map. One team starts off with a round and the other one catches up very quickly. You get a 1-1 and then it's just kind of pussyfooting forward and no one really takes any kind of a commanding lead, and that's how you end up in overtime. So at this point, I feel like we know too much to kind of call who is having any kind of advantage this early on, because it absolutely could swing the other way. I find it interesting, actually, the fact that BDS have decided to bring along a Jackal as well. One of the big things that Virtus.pro did very well in that last round was having those roamers, and especially the way that Shockwave just leapt into action to fill that gap that had been left by Pasha. And it was Shaiko who had to deal with a lot of them. He dealt with Pasha, he dealt with Rask, but this way they'll actually have stern eyes on where they could be.
It is very, very rare that we see BDS change their operator lineup. Last time these guys played this map just yesterday, BDS had the same 5 ops every single round. It was the same case on Village just now, with the exception of that single round where BDS brought the Amaru. But I like this pick from Rafal. Yesterday, Virtus.pro did a lot of very heavy roams on their basement defense. So once again, BDS are coming into this with a bit of a counter strat. But of course, as we can see, Virtus.pro are not going for that heavy roam this time around. They don't have the vigil as they did yesterday. They're playing much more on the bomb site. And I think this is a bit of maturity from Virtus.pro to make that decision. Actually, let's just play close on site all day. BDS's attackers have been slow. They have been slow. They have been at a snail's pace. And that has punished them in their executes and enabled Virtus.pro to win a lot of retakes. Now we'll see whether BDS can pick up the pace.
It's very reminiscent of the learning curve that VP had to undergo at the beginning of the EUL, straight after the European Open clash, which they won. They had to learn to rein in their aggression that they channeled so successfully prior to that, because teams learned to deal with it. And that's looking like what is happening here. Now, Shaiko's opening up the church wall. He's going to get that one started. WTG is still nearby, and he does have a C4 in hand. So if anyone gets too close, then maybe that could go sailing over, as they have opened it up. There is the C4, and that should prevent the next couple of X-Kairos from working, which it does. It doesn't actually kill anybody.
That said, the Ace will make short work of that church wall. Very much a church-centric push here for BDS. But WTG, what is this play he's trying to make down the long hallway? He gets shut down by Shaiko, covering from the bottom main stairs. Very aggressive play from WTG, but punished now 25 seconds for the execute to happen.
Lems is still going to have to take control of blue if he wants to come in from the other side. That's where Pasha was situated, and it could make it harder, but it looks like he's there. He gets a kill, but Pasha retaliates, and now we're at about 10 seconds. Brede goes in for the plant, and VP has only 2 members remaining, or not. Shaiko says absolutely good night and goodbye. Rafal finishing it off. And BDS, like I said, even things out on round 2. What do we expect from these two teams? Once again, evened up.
Was a close round though, Gio. Despite WTG throwing his life away, I can't criticize him too much for that aggressive play up long. Sometimes you got to go for something a bit crazy. I mean, BDS had a lot going for them in the late round of that round. About 30 seconds left, just under, and BDS had a great breach onto Church, and they also had someone pushing into blue. So they had basically all the ingredients that they needed to start a Moto-centric execute. But the problem was, of course, that Virtus.pro sitting on the other side of that. They're like, well, we need to make some kind of play. WTG got punished for it, and suddenly BDS are once again in that advantage position for the execute, but with one player advantage. From there on, I thought maybe there would be a retake from VP. I thought maybe that plan could get denied with low time left, but good coverage in the end of it from BDS. That said, VP retry the same bomb site with the same operators. The only op change here is BDS actually foregoing the Jackal. They said, okay, well, these guys aren't roaming. We don't need to bring it. Let's go for the nades instead. Let's go for that extra soft breach potential of the sledge. And hopefully that'll help out a bit more.
I actually worry that this could end up being more dangerous for Virtus.pro, because one of the things that BDS had going really well for them in that last round was how much control Shaiko could hold of the bottom and main stairs. In a lot of instances, if you have a Hibana playing down there and you can shut her down, that it's going to make you struggle a lot more and really prevent rotations that you can make between the two parts of the site and just all the way down in the basement. But Shaiko took that to his advantage. He brought down WTG. He got another couple of kills as well for it. If you're bringing a sledge as well for the nades and you can play him in kitchen, drop them down through into armory, you're already going to be significantly weaker in terms of where your defenders can play, / if they can play. And on top of that, if you get the church wall open as well, it also pressures those who are playing in church. Now, this is obviously the idea for the attackers, but the point stands is that Virtus.pro already had a part of that strategy used against them very successfully in that last round. With even more added on top of it, it could hurt all the more.
So BDS, are you shaping up for perhaps a kitchen push this time around? The sledge certainly helps out a lot with that. Opening up the floor is really key for killing any player who wants to impact trick that kitchen hatch. And that's why you bring him. The nades also help a little bit as well. But Shaiko is the player who would be opening this hatch. He's already committed one set of X-Kairos to the Moto hatch. Thanks to that thermite being banned, BDS have to play the Ace, which does somewhat limit the number of hatches they can open. Ace requires 2 Selmas to breach a hatch, whereas Thermite can do it in 1, as can Hibana. Now BDS, what have you got to show for us here? It looks to be a very much same kind of blue and church pinch, but my question is, as you highlighted, Shaiko at the bottom of the main stairs, once he eventually goes there, can VP take him out? Maybe a C4 from inside church over the reinforced wall could spell Shaiko's demise and turn the tide for VP.
This positioning of WTG could be great to help support Pasha, but there's the jump down, going to be going from BDS. Rafal to be jumping through. There's a nade. He's getting ready with the second one as well to remove the Banshee. The shield, oh, it does get destroyed finally. That makes Pasha so much more exposed, and it means the impact trick from Milon is a lot more tentative because he knows where that pressure could be coming in from Moto. He's going to be looking through the breach, trying to catch out whoever he can, but these two players in Moto so far aren't going to be caught. And there's the Selma heading onto the church wall. Once again, a bigger problem for VP, and there's an X-Kairos as well. Milon's basically going to find himself in really rough waters as Pasha goes down to just 1 HP, and this looks like it could be very difficult for Virtus.pro. BDS get the first kill onto Milon. There's another 2 though from Virtus.pro who start to turn things around. Renshiro is feeling a lot more pressure, and he's actually going to back one out.
It's just about no time left, and 3v4 now, BDS, they can even it up, they can get the man advantage. But Shockwave may well be able to hold this. It's just him left against 3 players. How have BDS pulled this rabbit out of the hats? Shockwave has no chance. What a late round execute. What a salvage in the last 20 seconds of the round. And BDS, once again, get that attack win onto Church and Arsenal.
The former major MVP of Renshiro definitely showed up in that round. I think he got 3 kills, at least 3 kills anyway. Really, really effective. And I have to say, I do really like the fact, you know, the way they went for Moto. They were in a position where Milan couldn't take advantage of it, and all of the breaches that were occurring on the church wall made it very difficult. Once again, Long was very hard to contest, and Pasha as well felt the pressure from multiple angles because of the way they were able to successfully get the shield dispatched with by bringing the nades on the sledge, who was playing in there as well. So they found a way to provide this multi-dimensional, multi-angle pressure onto the defenders without needing more than 5 players.
That's a change of bomb site choice from VP. They go to Cash. Initially, they'd actually selected Gym and Bedroom. Cash was a last-minute decision. They only played it once yesterday when they played against BDS. They did win it, but there were a couple of mistakes on BDS's side. For example, a self-grenade from Rafale, and I think VP weren't super confident in that Cash defense. Maybe they thought that they won it largely in part due to BDS's mistakes rather than to their own successes. And so I thought maybe that's why they would go for Jim instead, but they changed their mind. VP, this has been a game of adaptations, right, Gio? We were talking about this on Villa. It's the teams that are changing things from round to round that are having success, and I think this is the right call from VP. Go back to Cash, as you did yesterday. See if it can throw some momentum your way.
Pasha's hunting for drones, knowing that he could be caught out, as he has decided to go off on a roam, something the Virtus.pro decided not to employ in their last 2 rounds when they went down to Church. But right now, it looks like he is pretty safe. In fact, only 1 drone has been lost from BDS. A number of them still in their pockets with just 3 out on the field. This is the 4th one that's being sent in now. They're going to make work on the server wall, sending in the EMP and the Selmas as well, and that causes Virtus.pro to scatter back in towards Cash, while Milan holds on to Garage.
Haven't seen a lot of impact from this Thermite band. That's a nice impact there. Alems. Beautiful headshot onto Milan, and that may well mean garage control for BDS. A pivotal element here and going for, well, a garage take, as the name would suggest, but I believe that is almost all the hard breach gone. Shaiko furthers the man advantage. Things are looking grim, but Virtus.pro, Rask in particular, starts to harass BDS and starts to claw things back on their side.
Oh, it was like he was just a rabbit caught in the headlights, and the headlights were an impact and loads of gunfire. And now Russ can drop down and he'll make a wide rotation around, and suddenly Team BDS don't look like they have such a mighty advantage as they did at the very start. You still have the C4 being held by Shockwave, and if you note the way that they set up the site, they have holes in the Cash wall, so they could potentially throw that through to deny a plant if it's made in the default plant spot. That is still an option. So, not all hope is lost. Rask is still looking for his prey. He gets it. Rafale's straight down, and now you are in that 3 versus 3.
This is pivotal. Rask has clawed this back to a numbers equality on this downstairs roam. He has taken away BDS's opportunity for a garage push and made them think twice about it. Now BDS start to shape up for that execute. Still gases in pocket and still Rask, that X factor alive. So many layers of plant and our Shockwave still has a C4. Surely Brede can't secure this. The gas misses though, but the C4 also misses. Rask finds the player downstairs and another one! A 4K for the Malusi. BDS did the impossible planting this diffuser, but Rask says, get out of my swamp. And will he get the last one? Alems has to cover, but the refrag comes through. Shockwave just barely edges it in the 1v1. And Virtus.pro breathe a sigh of relief.
while you were talking, what was going through my mind is there were 2 claymores on BDS. Rosk, you better not jump into one. And guess what he goes and does? Obviously, it didn't matter in the end. They were able to disable the plant. Even though the C4 didn't work, it was really juicy to see an Impact get a kill. We always love to see that. Especially, people get bored of Impact tricking, right? They're just like, that's just what you bring them for these days. Not even really rotates when you have site destruction in the form of shotguns. So it's nice and spicy to see that get a kill. But
it's actually funny, right? Both of Rusk's impacts were worth their weight in gold, because the first one he used to get that kill on the Shaiko, right, impacting the lounge wall into garage, and that also meant that Virtus.pro, or rather BDS, were constantly worried about the angles that opening generated from even bar, from stock, from lounge into garage. They're constantly worried about it, and the second impact got a kill. So very impactful impacts.
Well, the thing that I kind of wanted to know, really, is that despite the fact that that round, as is sort of the MO of this series, could have in theory gone either way, the fact that BDS were able to gain both server and garage control pretty quickly and still couldn't flip the round in their favor, I think that is notable. Yes, you had Rusk down in lounge, he was able to get the kill onto Shaiko, and there was the tussle for the garage control, but removing the Kaid very early was still quite a big part of what BDS were able to do on their attack, and pushing those players from VP back after opening up server as well. In theory, that should be a great opening to be able to move in and take the site, and it wasn't, because Virtus.pro had the wherewithal to fight back, and that is why I'm really stoked about this map, because those are the things we will be seeing from these 2 teams.
How's this going to pan out, though, for BDS? 2-2 on their attack thus far. Good attacks on the Church Arsenal, but not so much success onto these other bomb sites, and that's where we return. Virtus.pro have Gym unlocked, and now will take us back there. This got very close last round, but BDS were unable to clear out Shockwave below, who ultimately denied the plant on 0 seconds. He starts his roam at the top of Cash stairs, taking a lot of damage. Pasha also downstairs. Previously, Virtus.pro abandoned this around the, 130 mark, and just let BDS have it. And that did work out for them. I wonder whether they'll hold it a bit harder this time.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping to see Shockwave make this kind of rotation because he is low on health. He didn't actually get the drone that was in the drone hole, and I think, once again, it's best for them to bunch up and pool their resources and their manpower for later on in the round and being able to hold onto the site itself rather than just hanging around here, especially when there's so many members of BDS and they're going to be able to take this part of the map anyway. You've done your job in wasting the time. Don't waste your life as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, especially the players with C4s like Pasha and Shockwave. They're the players who very late round we saw rotate down into bar below the bomb site. Pasha's in such a cheeky spot. I hope he doesn't get spotted. He's actually going to start moving up. Just be careful, like you said. Oof, takes down that drone. But these 2 players can't throw their lives away. I've criticized their time management today, but this is all right for them. The info has been huge. The amount of information these drones have gotten, and this execute could well come out a lot earlier than has been previously. Last time attacking this bomb site, they executed with 8 seconds left. It was just far too late. Now BDS are in a much better position to make this happen. They've just got to clear out a little bit more utility, these evil eyes in particular, and they'll be ready, Freddy.
Yeah, Shaiko just wants to make sure everything is okay for him. WTG takes a lot of damage as well, so you can tell that all of the action is going on, but there's still these players downstairs. The C4 narrowly misses, but Shaiko does not, bringing Pasha down. He does eventually get traded out, but the plant hasn't been made, and that's going to be his responsibility if he can get in there at all. But with BDS starting to clean up these kills and just 2 players remaining on Virtus.pro, maybe this is impossible, but the evil eye hasn't been dealt with. There's Renshiro to get another kill as well. Milon's just got to stand up for himself and the rest of his team if he wants to keep them in. Rafal can have a go at getting the plant, and Milon's got to narrowly avoid these nades that are incoming, and there we go. He can actually start on the plant as well. Renshiro flanking round. Plant has been made. He can't quite find his adversary though. Milon is still alive, just taking a nice refreshing shower in amongst all of the gunfights. BDS do manage to get him though in the end after the plant and being able to trap and find him. Another round on the board for them.
Bit scary for a moment there, but really pivotal moments. About, 25 seconds left on the clock. Yes, we saw Shaiko make that entry and take down Pasha. Exact same thing that actually happened in the previous time on this bomb site. Pasha was one of those two roamers below alongside Shockwave. And Shaiko took down Pasha, was refragged by Shockwave, who then C4 to deny the plant. But the thing is, this time around, Shockwave used his C4 a bit earlier, tossed it up through the floor to try and take out that player who just entered through the breach. I believe it was Brede. But not having any C4 for plants now meant that Virtus.pro had to rely on that Evil Eye, which eventually was just simply shot by Brede after that first plant attempt. Much better attack from BDS, and that's what we like to see. They may well end this attack half in their advantage. Yesterday, that was not the case. They were at a 2-4 deficit after their attack half. They've already done better than that, and keep in mind, they've already won Villa as well. This map, BDS, could send themselves a ticket to that grand final.
I really like this read as well from BDS. One of the things that we spoke about when they came to attack a Church and Arsenal before was the fact that they'd opted to bring the Jackal, but Virtus.pro weren't going to play a roam. But Virtus.pro 6-picked onto Vigil, just as BDS 6-picked onto Jackal. So that suggests that not only did BDS predict that they would be coming to this side, but also that they are predicting that Virtus.pro will change their strategy and their way of playing this time round to go for the roam instead. That's exactly what they've done.
Yeah, I think that's really smart from BDS. They're kind of thinking 2 steps ahead here because Virtus.pro, they've already lost this bomb site twice. They have to go here. They've just won Cash and Gym. So, oh, sorry, they didn't win Gym. They could have retried Gym, but I think BDS are like, well, we don't need the sledge as much anyway. And I think it's a great read. They're anticipating that Pasha and Virtus.pro as a whole is going to try and roam a bit more, and they read that correctly. But will Rask be able to have an impact? And more importantly, will this
he had to.
Jackal actually be successful?
He could be going for a run out here.
Yes!
Oh, yes, he gets it! I was like, that's a risk to not go for the man first, but it turned out that it did work.
He had to do it. He had to shoot that Claymore. A huge gamble, but a beautiful showcase of mechanical skill and game sense there from Rask. And Pasha finds 1-2. Jackal, we don't give a crap. Virtus.pro finds 2 picks and gets all the way back onto the bomb site. Rask can just now use his disruptor to make these drones think he might still be roaming, but BDS won't know unless they scan his footsteps.
Oh, if only they could do that. Wouldn't that be crazy? Oh wait, they've got a Jackal on the board. They could potentially do it.
Well, they scanned Jaeger. It's not the player you want to scan.
Yeah, not quite what you want, and that is Pasha. And I was going to say, he's waiting down in blue, quite close to Oil Pit, actually. So they will know about that, at the very least. And Lens will be moving down, taking the position of what we saw Shaiko doing at the bottom of main stairs. He won't be able to breach the church wall, but he can remove a shield.
Now, Rafal, he doesn't have the sledge. He's going to get to work with the ITA. Much more difficult to try and cover these vertical angles with that. Ooh, interesting adaptation from VP. BDS keeps breaching this church wall, so Virtus.pro decides, instead of trying to impact trick and deny the breach, they're just going to open it on their terms, leave one of the walls soft. Milan also has impact, so he can impact trick any subsequent ones, and there you go, that's it just there. This is going to allow Virtus.pro a lot more flexibility on the bomb site here. I think they're set up really well. It's going to come down to this execute. Rask, though, he finds one on the bomb site. 2 players left for BDS. 20 seconds, what you got for us?
Identification lesion, but it's him and 4 others you're going to have to go up against in the final 15 seconds if you want to take this round, I'm afraid, Rafal. Brede's going to move on forward, but he could get caught out. Look at this little peek hole that Rask has. He can start mowing them down, but he still hasn't actually found one. It was Milan instead to get the final 2. And Pro once again even things out. I feel like a broken record, but that is just what is happening at the moment.
So many adaptations, back and forth, back and forth. This is what we love to see. BDS had some great changes when they were on their second attacking Gym, and now Virtus.pro made some great changes on their 3rd attempt defending Church and Arsenal. Stick to your guns, guys. You know you can do it. That's what we love to see. Really well placed individual plays, I guess you could say. Those two roamers upstairs did so much work, found 2 kills on the roam, defaulted back to site. What a beautiful play, though, from Ras, jumping out that construction window, shooting the Claymore first, and then taking the fight with the player and winning it. Absolutely nuts stuff. And then when it came down to the bomb site, the Anchors also had some tricks up their sleeve with the impact trick from Milon, thanks to that soft wall. This is neck and neck, Gio. 3-3 at the half, but I will say this still does favor BDS, who won 4 defense rounds yesterday against VP.
BDS did ultimately take this map yesterday, and as we have iterated a number of times, this is their best map. It's a map that they have won an insane number of times. I believe it was something like 10 times. I'm gonna have to get this up. Yeah, 10 times in the last few months, looking across both EUL and the French League. So they feel very comfortable here. And the fact that Virtus.pro are taking them very close to the wire is a great sign, but you would also generally expect a defending half on Clubhouse to go 4-2, and it didn't. It went 3-3. And as you mentioned, Virtus.pro are now on the back foot on the attacking half, which in theory should be the disadvantageous spot.
How well can Virtus.pro deal with their own medicine? The roam playstyle from BDS. A lot of info denial, the triple threat that we like to talk about maybe about 12 months ago in the meta. Mute, Mozzie, and Vigil. Just about all you can get in terms of info denial. Shaiko and Brede upstairs. Droning out these players will be incredibly difficult. An escape route as well down through the hatch if needed. Virtus.pro begins to start triangulating these players, but will they be effective?
That is a good question. I was just thinking, it's almost like the modern version of the SSG style roam. You don't have the castle, but instead you've got the Melusi on the board. They're actually going to rotate all the way back down, not waste any time. They haven't even made it to the halfway point. Only Alem still stays up above the basement, but he too will be joining the rest of his team in a relatively quick succession. Just taking a peek up the mains. But that is a very cautious decision coming from BDS. But it still means that VP have to, still look around, drone around everywhere, be sure that there aren't those roamers out and about on the rest of the field. And that does take time.
I really want to credit VP here. Like, that was a really cool strat from BDS, right? They have all this info gathering and they slowly peeled back. You can see Shaiko aggressive here on the blue stairs, ready to shoot any drones that come by. He's in a fairly safe position, similar to what we saw from Alems, but VP only lost 3 drones that entire roam clear. And the strategy here from BDS, the idea is to try and harm the info gathering so that when it comes to the site push, BDS are short in info. Well, they might not be short in info, but they've lost 1 player, and that's Pasha. Good start for BDS, but the retaliation from Shockwave.
It's a big dust for me. I always love seeing a good C4, but it could be Shockwave to turn things around back onto BDS. Milon as well is holding on to one of those angles through the church wall breach, but it is Shockwave indeed who gets the next kill. Now BDS are looking significantly weakened. They do still have another C4 in hand, but that's in Brede's pocket, and he's over in Armory.
Oh,
that's
what a pre-fire.
Really nice read in through the wall. As you say, the pre-fire brilliant to bring down Shockwave, and now the diffuser has been dropped. Rosk needs to be careful about the moves that he makes, knowing that that's being held in through the wall, and Shaiko's still behind it, doing what he does best. Fewer than 10 seconds remaining, and it's all up to WTG. This is suddenly looking like a rather impossible situation for him, as things looked so good for Virtus.pro before, but it won't transpire to be that way. This time, BDS take the round.
BDS takes it. As a wise man once said.
A wise
BDS took
man?
the round. As a loud man once said.
Yeah, that'll do.
Love you, Jacob. Yeah, well, BDS, good round. It's funny, I was really expecting that Virtus.pro would be in a fairly strong position because, like I said, BDS had a cool strat there. Their idea was to really harm the info gathering and waste as much time as possible. They backed off the roam, but were just trying to shoot drones as many as possible. VP actually dealt with that roam really well. Yeah, partly was because BDS backed off, but Virtus.pro put enough pressure on BDS that forced them to do so. And following that, Virtus.pro, they did it without losing very many drones whatsoever. It was really that pick with the C4 that turned the tables, and just narrow things, little plays here and there that disrupted the Virtus.pro plan, because it was a good plan, right? After you finish the roam clear, you've got Ace to breach the church wall. It was a decent, actually 2 holes. Shockwave found 2 kills as well to boot. The BDS went tit for tat. And now we move back to Cash. The first time we've seen BDS defend it, and they've taken the lead here, Gio. Only 3 rounds away from that grand final.
That is a scary prospect. I mean, arguably for both of these teams, BDS know they'll have to redo what happened in the past and fight their way into that grand final and fight for the victory as they did against G2. But Virtus.pro know that this is their opportunity to get there. They missed out on it so narrowly before, going down once again in the lower bracket finals against BDS in August. They don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past. Now, it's not over yet. This game is clearly still in session. They just need to amp it up and put their foot on the gas somewhat. And opening up the server wall is definitely going to help, and getting a headshot like that is also going to help. That's a nice one, Milan. I mean, Shaiko is not a concern of yours anymore.
Not a lot of utility goes down with that, though. Shaiko, not sure whether he had a C4, but irrelevant. Lem's still on the roam, but no C4 for him, so he'll be relying on taking gunfights. And it looks like Virtus.pro are going for this garage take. We saw the same thing from BDS. That means Alemza's position is a bit less relevant unless he can get to either strip for a run out or potentially pull for a peek through the window, as we saw from Rask on VP's defense. Garage will be the point of contention. Rafal on the rafters. Rafter Rafal, as I like to call him.
Yeah, that's pretty catchy.
And Renshiro downstairs in lounge, just lounging about, ready to support from below. VP. They've got to get to work and address these players.
Oh, there's a smoke. I'll start to obscure some of the vision that could be held. Maybe give Virtus.pro a way in, but Rafal gets caught out. WTG waiting on the door. There's just too many members of the attacking team were surrounding the garage, but it's actually going to be Shockwave, the next one to suffer. He could still be res, but he'll have to be picked up.
I think he got down through the drone hole through that breach. That is absolutely disgusting. Renshiro, funny that he opts not to take the 1.5 sight on Lesion, but the holo does the job. He's flushed off though, starts to escape, does a lot of damage. He knows he needs to do a little bit more if his team will have a chance in the round. Lems has dropped, 40 seconds left. VP is so very well set up. Gas canisters will not be enough to deny the execute. Surely not. VP have everything set up on a silver platter as they go for it.
Yeah, VP have enough men to deal with this as well as Milan starts things off. There are those gas canisters you spoke about, but so far everyone's still standing. There's the last kill from Rask, beautifully timed on the nade to make this a 4-4. And you said it, James, VP just felt like they had so much control in that round.
Yeah, that's what happens when you establish such a significant man advantage. There were some flashes of possibility there for BDS. At Rome from the Jaeger player of Alems. He potentially could have gone for a strip run out for a peek from pool window and found something, but I think it was too little too late at that point. The pivotal moment for me was as soon as Rafter Rafal died in garage.
Can we not call him that?
I call him what I want. I've got the microphone. Once VP had taken out, I mean, you're putting your SMG-11 player on a position where he has to take really tight gunfights and where he can dictate the round. In my mind, you move maybe Renshiro up there with and put the 1.5 sight on Lesion. Maybe you want your Lesion downstairs so he can impact at the garage. I don't know what the idea is. Maybe even, get Rafal to run the MP5K with the 1.5 sight. Then at least he can take these fights because he was completely blindsided in rafters. Even if he only has the SMG left and he just goes prone and tries to wait for them to nade him, he would have done better than what he did, which was peeking out and dying early. As soon as VP took out that player in garage, BDS got desperate. Virtus.pro had a 5v3 man advantage, which they furthered to a 5v1.
Yeah, it was a difficult position there for Rafal because you could see he was kind of trying to look down below him, and you can't watch out for all these angles at the same time. So if someone is at the door, as WTG was, you are going to find yourself getting caught out. And in that instance, you basically hand the garage control over to the attacking team. Now, clearly, BDS have decided to come back to the same site. Question is, are Virtus.pro going to go for the same thing? Are BDS going to go for the same thing? They'll definitely have been able to identify where those problems were before. Now, Alems obviously wasn't playing Bandit before, so that's a good start straight off the bat.
Yeah, they trade out the Malusi, and honestly, I didn't see the Malusi's gadgets being effective, and Shaco died right at the start. So, ooh, that's a nice Claymore. That'll prevent a run out, at least if the player doing so gets a bit too greedy. So, yeah, the Bandit is the main change here, right? So we're going to need to see Virtus.pro ensure that they counter this Bandit trick. I've seen teams deal with this in lots of different ways. The most on-meta way to do this was using Zephyr's concussions. Now, you can do this in two ways. This is... Oh, I love this. Okay, so an explosion is going to open up the floor. Boom. Now the concussion can go through the floor, but it misses. Second one hits, but the damage is done. Alems managed to get that Bandit trick down. It was a beautiful strategy from VP, but for whatever reason, it did not work. And that is one set of aces gone, and more importantly, all of the concussions from Zephyr gone.
Not a good position to be in if you're Virtus.pro, who now just donated a lot of time and resources to going for a strategy that did not work. Shockwave could very nearly get his first kill, and I think that's Shaiko in there. It is indeed. He could get caught out once again, but VP still have to figure out their way in. Yet to open up the server wall, and it did look like maybe they could be thinking about opening up Garage as well, but as it stands, I suspect that Rafal's still in there. He is, and instead it's looking like they want to come through the construction way.
Yeah, it's a complete change of tack here from Virtus.pro. They're like, all right, we can't breach that wall. Let's rotate. Let's go for construction instead. And, well, they found the first pick, but Shaiko had already moved his ADS into a position which would have protected the shield, I believe. No, okay, there is actually no shield in cache. There's only one. So, well, that's going to help, I guess, that ADS prevent some nades. But here comes through the Bandit battery disabled thanks to the EMP. Pasha to breach the wall with his X-Karo. Still has one set left he could use to enable another angle. This is actually still winnable here for VP. They've got that man advantage, and they're decently set up, but Alems has a strong position in TV and no breach on the Kennel's wall to suppress him.
Yeah, basically they've got to try and hold off a one-dimensional push, and they're going to start by doing that as Renshiro gets a nice clean 2K from behind. As you mentioned, BDS had that opportunity, but Virtus.pro retaliating. In come 2 kills for themselves, and now they still have that man advantage.
Oh no!
2 players, but there's so few. Renshiro, he's trying to stop this from happening, and because the time runs out, Virtus.pro don't get the opportunity to take the round. But it was a valiant effort given what disadvantage they were at nonetheless.
Yeah, massive credit to VP for making that happen and getting such a good position after failing to deal with that Bandit trick. But my God, I don't know how Renshiro was allowed to go for a 3K flank from Logi, but he single-handedly won that round. 100%. Renshiro just won that round for BDS. Look at him, 12-3. That's a 4.0 KD right now. He flew a bit under the radar for me on his attack, despite clearly having a half playing the Thermite. And now he's stepped it up even massively on his defense. BDS, they've won 2 defenses here, and my goodness, it could well be a map for then a series 2-0. Might be early to call Geo, but Virtus.pro need to retaliate.
It is getting dangerously close. In that last round, I mean, it wasn't even like Virtus.pro had many options of being able to protect themselves from what Renshiro did because of how many drones had already been spent. So it's not like they could have, you know, had flank drones set up, they could check. They didn't have enough time to really do anything like that anyway. So a real difficult position for them. And this could be another difficult position for them to find themselves in as well. Given that, back in round 7, BDS successfully defended this site, and Virtus.pro haven't had another opportunity to prove themselves. And if they fail to do so, then BDS will be taking this game to match point. And not only will Virtus.pro have to haul it into overtime to have a hope of winning, but they'll have to have quite a few flawless rounds, or rather a flawless streak, towards the 6th round themselves to keep themselves in the game. That hasn't happened at all while Virtus.pro and BDS have been playing against each other. It's been constantly flip-flopping, so that's not something they can rely upon.
We haven't seen either team get a 2-round lead all series, I don't believe. I'm just having a look now. Yeah, we've never seen either team get a 2-round lead. So this is so telling here if BDS can win this basement defense. They've made some changes. They've switched the mute onto a Lems, which will allow Brid to play the smoke, which he previously omitted on this bomb site. Going for a full turtle strategy. BDS deciding not to go for the roam they did last time. It clearly did not work the way they hoped. Rafale's also off the Kaid and on the Maestro, so it looks like BDS are playing a much more passive style defense. Impacts as well from that Maestro. Can deny a breach on the church wall. We're likely to see that in a moment, but the mute jam is going to make it very difficult here. The MPS to come through. Rafale should be able to clear out both of those sets. No, just the top one. And there is still a breach on the church wall, but not one that can be used to enter.
He also has the backup from Renshiro as well, and a Lems present over towards a pulse spot, I suppose, as some people call it, where we did see Shaiko use the soft wall so effectively, and he has angles up as well. So many directions are being covered here by BDS, and it could make it very difficult for Virtus.pro.
Yes.
In comes the next attempt at the impact. That's going to make it once again.
That's all the hard breach. That's all of the hard breach gone. BDS just needed an extra set of impact grenades, and that was exactly what they needed to deny an entryway on the church wall. Virtus.pro are going to have to do something magical right now, because by all rights, BDS should win this.
Virtus.pro now finding themselves in a similar situation to last time, where they have to take a one-dimensional route pretty much because of their lack of options for hard breach. They're dropping down into Moto, and Raski's trying to see what he can get, but Renshiro gets it first. Shaiko to follow up as well. Suddenly Virtus.pro are just falling
Renshiro!
at the knees, and Shockwave is the only one left. BDS take it to match point. And this is where who is going to the grand finals could be decided, all off the back of an absolutely dominating round from BDS.
The adaptation from BDS, that was exactly what they needed. An extra set of impacts and a couple shields to help lean into that anchor strategy. For the first time this series, one of these teams has a 2-round lead. BDS, they are up on their map pick after finally breaking the curse and winning Villa. It looks like it was not a jinx, Geo. Winning Villa was not the answer for Virtus.pro. BDS, my goodness now. They have a 2-round buffer here to take the series 2-0 and get a rematch with Team Empire in the grand final.
Right now, Virtus.pro are going to be desperately wishing that the magazine size of the MPX was larger. And the Deagle as well, I suppose. For those who missed it,
just needed more bullets.
Back on Villa, which was Virtus.pro's map, we were in overtime, the final round, and Virtus.pro had to concede the round because Milan, who was the last player standing, ran out of ammunition. And it was heartbreaking because it was so close. And now coming into BDS's map, they would have known that they were at the disadvantage. They were on the back foot, and they fought so valiantly, and it still could be won by them. It's not over for Virtus.pro just yet. The point still stands as they could have had that extra map behind them. And after what happened in the August Major, where BDS beat Virtus.pro 2-0 in the lower bracket finals, right now they're going to be experiencing flashbacks of that very experience. Not a nice place to be if you're Virtus.pro, but this is a team with fortitude and skill. It's not over yet, and they could still drag this back.
It's not over until the fat lady sings, and guess what, Gio? The last 4 maps these teams have played have all went overtime. I'd be very surprised if Virtus.pro don't feel bloody well motivated to do the same here and take us all the way to the 3rd map in the series, Oregon. Now, for Clubhouse, BDS's map pick. They're on the defensive gym and bedroom. We haven't seen their defense of this bomb site as of yet, but they've extended over towards Cash. And Virtus.pro have begun to make their move. And there's the first pick for them as well. Shaiko once again goes down. Virtus.pro have started this strong.
Nice judgment from... And this could be the trigger for BDS to start to move back, but Rafal's not going to do it just yet. He's still hiding behind the Vulcan shield and holding on to cash, knowing that Virtus.pro are going to be moving in not very long. They have got the breach on server, and there goes in the nade to try and remove that shield. And BDS, there you go, all retreated back towards the site. That gives Virtus.pro control over this east side of the map.
I'm really just looking at VP right now. Yeah, BDS, one man down, but they're still favored. VP have to take this opportunity with both hands and shake it until some coins come out. There's so much to deal with for them. Still, Brede is downstairs, ready for that late round C4s. We've seen how detrimental that can be to attacks on this bomb site. Virtus.pro themselves were so good with their plant denial vertically. Now a breach on the jacuzzi wall will enable another avenue onto the bomb site for VP. Numbers advantage and a breach on this Logi wall. But the kill may well come from Rafal. Milan furthers this, and that's Renshiro gone down, the savior for BDS. Can the Russians take us one round further?
Well, Rask is hurting, but he can transfer the information that the player who is in logistics, that was Rafal, has indeed moved back. Also, I believe the bathroom wall is open as well. That could give BDS more power in holding back players who, yeah, there we go. That gives them more power in holding back players who could be here on the jacuzzi wall. Rafal's actually going to rotate downstairs as Alems gets that kill through the bathroom wall. The attempt at the C4 doesn't actually get anyone, and Alems finds himself falling instead. Now Virtus.pro have very much the advantage, and they can start to come in with the plant. Pasha's going to be going for that himself. Brede just holding on to this angle, but Team BDS want to be proactive if they want to do something. Rafal, an absolute beast, he gets 2, and Team BDS take the map. They take the game, and they take themselves forward into the grand finals in the blink of an eye.
Out of absolutely nowhere, Rafal flanks all the way up the red stairs and takes that series for himself. A ginormous performance from the French team. We will have a 6th game between the French and the Russians here in the European Major.